Airframe, hydraulic and pneumatic power systems. What are the three principal categories of hydraulic fluids? Mineral 5606, polyalphalofin 83282, and phosphate ester, Skydrol. What is the color of mineral-based hydraulic fluid? Red, 5606. How do you determine which type of fluid to use in a specific system? The type of fluid is specified in the aircraft maintenance manual or on the instruction plate attached to the reservoir on a unit being serviced. What will happen to the seals in a vegetable-based hydraulic system if it is serviced with mineral-based or phosphate ester-based fluids? The seals will swell, break down, and block the system. When installing a chevron seal, what must be considered? A chevron seal is directional and must be installed with pressure going towards the open side of the seal. When hydraulic lines have been disconnected, what precautions should be taken to prevent contamination of the system? All hydraulic lines and fittings should be capped or plugged immediately after disconnecting. What happens to hydraulic fluid flow if the filter element becomes clogged with foreign matter? There is a bypass valve which routes the hydraulic fluid directly to the inlet port or to the outlet port. What is a macronic filter? It's a filter with a paper element. Name the filters used in aircraft pneumatic systems: paper, pleated, and screen type. What are some hydraulic reservoirs? Why are some hydraulic reservoirs pressurized? To ensure a positive flow of fluid to the engine-driven pump at high altitudes. What methods are used to pressurize hydraulic reservoirs? Some systems use a variable displacement hydraulic pump, engine bleed air, or hydraulic system pressure acting on a small piston inside the reservoir. Another method is an aspirator or venturi. What are the two types of accumulator housings? Spherical and cylindrical. Name three types of hydraulic accumulators: diaphragm type, bladder type, and piston type. What is the purpose of a pressure relief valve in a hydraulic system? It is to limit the amount of pressure in the system. What is the purpose of an unloading valve in a closed hydraulic system? The unloading valve is designed to provide a low pressure path for the fluid to flow from the pump back to the reservoir when the system has no flow requirements. The unloading valve also acts as a pressure regulator. What is the function of a wing flap overload valve? The purpose of the valve is to prevent possible structural damage to the flaps or the flap system that might result from the flaps being lowered at excessive speeds. What is the purpose of the spherical section in a hydraulic pump? The shear section will disconnect the pump from the engine, allowing the engine to continue to operate. What are two different types of hydraulic pumps? There are hand pumps and power pumps. Pumps can also be classified as positive displacement or non-positive displacement. What pump is most suitable for low pressure pneumatic system? A vane type pump. What protects direct pressure type hydraulic pressure gauge from pressure surges? A dampening device in the form of a very small restrictor installed in a line leading to the gauge or at the inlet of the gauge itself. For what purpose are pneumatic systems used in some aircraft? To operate brakes, open and close doors, starting pump driving, and operating emergency devices. What happens to the air after a pneumatic system is operated? The air is dumped overboard. Why should a pneumatic system be purged periodically? To remove contamination and moisture. What is the purpose of a pressure relief valve? To limit the amount of pressure, thereby preventing failure of the system component. What is the purpose of an accumulator? Accumulators are used to prevent hydraulic system shock when under high load demand conditions. What is an example of a phosphate ester base fluid? Skydrol. What happens to plastic resins, vinyl compositions, lacquers, and oil-based paints if exposed to a phosphate ester-based hydraulic fluid such as Skydrol? The material will be damaged, softened, and or peeled. What precautions should be taken to minimize contamination during a replacement of a hydraulic unit? All lines should be plugged or capped after disconnecting. What are two types of engine-driven hydraulic pumps? Constant delivery and variable delivery. What are sources of pneumatic power? Storage, bottles, vane-type pumps, and turbine engine compressors. What happens to the excessive pressure in a pneumatic system? A relief valve will bleed it to the atmosphere. What must be accomplished with any accumulator prior to disassembling? Make sure the air or preload has been discharged. What feature is built into a hydraulic pump drive system to prevent engine damage in the event of pump seizure or overload? A shear section in the pump drive shaft. What would cause a hydraulic filter to go into open bypass, allowing unfiltered fluid into the system? A clogged filter. What is the purpose of a pressure regulator? To manage the output of the pump to maintain system pressure and allow the pump to turn without resistance. What is used in some hydraulic systems to supplement the power pump when several units are operated at the same time? The accumulator. What is the purpose of restriction that are used in aircraft pneumatic systems? What is the purpose of restriction that are used in aircraft pneumatic systems? To control the rate of airflow.